Hey guys, it's Justine. Thanks for tuning into my Tool Basics series on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about the jigsaw. So let's get started. Your jigsaw is going to be used for any type of irregular shape cut. Maybe it's a detail, maybe it's lettering, just shapes that you can't really get using your circular saw or your miter saw. This is a great alternative if you don't have access to a bandsaw, which if you're working out of a home studio, most people don't. So let's cover the basics. The basic way that this works is that the blade, which fits in right here, is going to go up and down and cut into your piece of wood. To insert the blade, I'm going to make sure my teeth are facing forward so that they can cut into the wood. If you put your blade in backwards, you're going to know pretty quick. So what you're going to do is, mine has this little lever right here, and I'm going to pull that up, and I'm going to slide my blade in between these little bearings right here. And I'm just going to go like this, insert it, and once I have it in there, I'm going to let go, and then you can feel that this is locked. Okay, so the way that this works is once you pull the trigger, the blade is going to go up and down and cut through whatever material you're cutting through. So you're going to kind of use it in this type of motion. This trigger on most jigsaws is pressure sensitive. So if you want to go a little slower, you hold it down less. If you want to go faster, you hold it down more. When you're cutting with a jigsaw, you're going to control it by this trigger right here, meaning you would have to hold the trigger for the length of your cut. Sometimes when you're cutting a really long piece of wood or making a long cut, you're not going to want to hold the trigger down the whole time because you'll get a cramp in your hand. So most saws have a little button right here that if you hold your trigger down and pop that in, it's going to lock your trigger into place. To get it to stop, so say you're making your whole cut this way, you would just pull down on the trigger again and your blade will stop. You want to make sure that this part down here, the shoe of it, is sitting flush against whatever you're cutting on. And you kind of just cut in this motion. If you start to angle it in any way, you might get kickback from the saw, which it kind of like bounces on the wood, and that can be a little startling. So just make sure that this is staying flat. If you want to make a beveled cut, most jigsaws have a way to adjust this shoe so that it goes this way and that way. Mine is on the bottom, so it's more effort than it's worth for me usually. I'll just go back with a router if I really want that edge. But some jigsaws have an easier method of changing that. All right, so real quick on jigsaw blades. Most packs are gonna have like a variety, and they'll tell you what's on the side here. But if you have like just a jar of old blades and you're trying to find the right one, they'll also tell you what they're made for right here. So this is clean wood. Sometimes, you know, it'll say plexi or multi-purpose. So just kind of keep an eye on that. All right, so a few safety notes when using a jigsaw. There are a couple things I always like to keep an eye on when I'm cutting something, and that is where my cord is and where my hands are. I happen to have 10 fingers and I like it that way. So when I'm using a jigsaw, I usually hold one hand here and one hand here. If I have to steady the piece of wood, I'll hold it away from the blade, make sure I'm not cutting towards myself, and always be very mindful of where I have my hands. All right, so let's just say we want to make this corner rounded. So I'm just gonna take a roll of tape and put it here and give it a nice trace. The other thing you want to keep an eye on is where your table is in relationship to your cut. I'm cutting all the way down here, but my table ends somewhere around here, and I just want to make sure that I know that when I'm making the cut, otherwise I'll just cut right through my table. Okay, let's get cutting. I'm going to start kind of like along the edge and then just work my way in. When you're making a cut like this, especially if it has to be precise, you just want to keep in mind where you're cutting in relationship to the line. If you're on the right side of the line, you want to stay on the right side. If you're cutting through the line, just keep it consistent. One other thing that you can use jigsaws for is cutting a hole in the middle of a piece of wood. Maybe you need to cut a little space for an outlet to come through, or maybe you're making a plant hanger that you want a flower pot to sit in. So what I'm going to do is take a bucket or a circle, and I'm just going to put it wherever I want. That. And to get my first cut in the wood, I'm going to use my drill with a drill bit that is big enough to accommodate my blade, so you can kind of see. And I'm just going to drill a hole near the edge of my circle. So now that I have a starting point, I can kind of just take my jigsaw, go all the way around, and make the cut. That way your flower pot can fit right in. As always, when you're working with power tools, be sure to take it one step at a time and always read the manuals. There's a learning curve to this stuff, and so don't be afraid to practice, 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 and be careful out there. So if you like these videos, you're finding them useful, be sure to subscribe and let me know if there's anything you want to see in the comment section below. Happy making!